Well, the offseason is over halfway through now, and the Mariners still have not made any sort of significant moves. Four guys,
Yeah.
but none of them are major league players. At least they've added four guys, but it's four guys that I've never heard of. Four guys that are in AAA. So, Drew, what's your reaction? And do you think it's going to change at all?
Yeah, you say at least four guys, Levi. Like, that means absolutely anything, because it doesn't. This team has been an absolute failure this offseason. Jerry Dipoto has been an absolute failure. Justin Hollander has failed tremendously. John Stanton and all of the rest of the owners have failed. There has not been one positive to take away from this offseason. I mean, there really hasn't. Every team in your division has gotten better. Maybe not the Astros, but even the Astros started to add towards the end there. So, we're getting to this place now where we can really start having the conversation, Levi. Is there a chance the Mariners are dead last in the AL West this coming year? I mean, I understand the A's aren't good, but they're doing significantly more than the Seattle Mariners. And for a team with the best pitching staff in baseball, for a team that is consistently in the top 10 in revenue year in and year out in MLB, for a team that has Julio Rodriguez, good talent coming into the farm system, and a fan base who has been begging for this team to make moves and to get back to not just the playoff, but to get to the World Series for the first time in franchise history. It is pathetic what the Mariners have done this offseason. I really can't defend it. There's still some time, Levi, but there is no indication to me that Alex Bregman's going to come through. That really anyone is going to come through for the Mariners right now. I'm starting to believe more and more that Ryan Bliss, Leo Rivas, and Dylan Moore are going to be starting, and that's a sad reality.
Yeah, sad reality indeed. I agree. The last place I think is a little bit of a
Sure,
overreaction
but
because the
a
Angels,
conversation
who
starter.
I would say fourth place is where the conversation. I think right now you're thinking the A's are rapidly approaching the level of talent that the Mariners have. I think that the A's all even last year, the A's were scoring almost a run more per game than us. And I think that they've added to their offense. They've also added to their rotation. We haven't done either. It's wild because even before the offseason started, we were told the Mariners are going to have an increased payroll.
Yeah.
Right. And then we don't re-sign Justin Turner or Josh Rojas. So that saves about 5 million. We also let a couple bullpen pieces go. So you're working with an increased payroll plus you've shed about I think $8 million of salary we've shed, and yet nothing. Crickets, absolutely crickets. And so the question that I have is, are they lying when they say that they're going to increase payroll? And if so, why would they lie about that? Why would Dipoto and why would Stanton and why would they tell fans one thing and then do the opposite of that thing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened in the past where Dipoto said one thing and another thing has been reality. However, kind of to defend Dipoto a little bit, a lot of that is because John Stanton flips his word. I mean, we've seen that over and over again where Stanton tells Dipoto and Hollander one thing, and then a few months later kind of retracts what he says. There's been no reports on that being the case this time around, but you can indicate that maybe Justin Hollander and Jerry Dipoto, maybe the plan they've had going into the offseason has been altered from the ownership, being a little stingy in the winter months. And it's frustrating. It is. And I really don't know how much to put it on Justin Hollander and Jerry Dipoto and John Stanton. Because what I will say is despite Stanton being able to kind of cap what they do in the free agent market, this team and Hollander and Dipoto has backed this up multiple times. This team is a develop, draft, and trade team. I mean, that's kind of what they made their living off of. That's how we got guys like Castillo. But there's no trades either. So if you are a trade develop team, where are the trades coming? Because that's not happening either. And you have some leeway on the money side to be able to trade some prospects to take in some salary. So in my mind, that shouldn't be a problem. So what is happening, Levi? if the free agents are an answer, why can't we be a trade team? Why can't we trade a Castillo? Why can't we trade a Harry Ford? Why can't we do something, even if it's not through the free agent route?
Yeah, I mean, reportedly last year we were offered a deal to trade Emerson Hancock to the Orioles for Ryan Mountcastle, and we declined that trade. So it honestly to
That's
me
baffling. That's baffling.
it feels like the Mariners over the past year ish and moving forward have been very stingy with their prospects, and maybe that means that they think that all 10 of their top 10 prospects are going to be stars, and I hope that does that. I hope that they do become stars. But the idea that you have there are tradable pieces and you're not trading them. I don't think we should trade Colt Emerson, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you could go and trade somebody like Logan Evans, who's your, I believe, number 7 prospect. Someone in that range who
Ty
maybe is
Pete.
not Ty Pete, exactly.
He
Somebody
is
like that.
years away.
Exactly.
Years. He is
Years.
not close to the MLB. He is
And
reportedly
not going to contribute.
2 to 4 years away.
By the time most of the prospects outside of Harry Ford and Cole Young, the rest of them, by the time that they are ready to be solid starters at an MLB level, and I'm not saying when they're 22 and get called up in September, I'm saying by the time most of these guys are starters, guess who's going to be gone? Cal and Logan Gilbert and George Kirby and Castillo. Those guys are going to be gone because we're not going to be able to afford to pay them. So then by the time your prospects that you're saving in the farm system, by the time they're ready, your current stars are going to be gone. So then it's just a cycle where you're just losing players. You wind up in a cycle where you're winning 85 games a year every year. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think that that's what the team wants because it keeps fans in seats and it keeps the money rolling.
Does it? Does it? 85 wins.
It
I
did
don't know
last
if it
year.
does.
It did
Sure, but
last year.
I get that, but the playoffs were still, just a couple
True.
years away at that, before that time period. If you start really compiling 85 win seasons 5, 6 years in a row, I do think at some point you got to be careful because you've said yourself, Levi, you're going to stop going to the ballpark, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
and I don't know if I'm in that same boat with you, but it's definitely a question. I mean, it's definitely it makes you think if the ownership group doesn't care about the fans, why should the fans care about the team?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of committed to if I'm gonna go to a game this year, it's gonna be $10 bleacher seats, and I'm not buying any food or nothing. I don't want to give my money to this team right now because I gave them a lot of money over the past. I remember when we were teenagers, Drew. We were
Yeah,
back home in high school. We would go to like 6, 7 games in the summer, and we were spending
I
our
went to
hard-earned.
22
You went to
the
22
year
games.
the year before they made the playoffs.
We gave this team a lot of our money, and I get it. Like we're kids, it's not that much money, but still, we were supporting the team. We were showing up, and the team saw that, took that investment, and ran with it. I mean, we were back
And
to
it
back
wasn't just
years.
us, Levi. We were we
No.
were literally first in the MLB our All-Star year in revenue.
And we were
First.
also first last year in revenue.
It was last year too.
Yes,
There you go.
back to
I
back
mean,
years, number one in revenue, and yet no outward investment. They're taking the money, and what are
and
they
you can
doing?
blame the root sports stuff. I don't buy it. I mean, I really
Don't buy
don't.
it. No, I of course you don't.
Not to this degree. I mean, you can
It's
argue
just an
maybe
excuse.
a few million here, a few million there. Maybe you don't sign Juan Soto, but the fact you can't splurge for Moncada or
Well, we don't
Kim
want Moncada.
or
Okay, Moncada would not be a splurge. Bro played like 10, 20 games last year.
I understand it would be a splurge for this Mariners team.
Yeah, $3 million. When $3 million is a splurge, you know you're down bad.
Kim was signed for what? 4 or 12 million, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, and
And
supposedly we might have made an offer that was bigger than that, and rumor had it he really wanted to play for the Dodgers. Sounds like Roki Sasaki is also going to the Dodgers. By the way, side tangent, why haven't we met with Roki Sasaki? Jerry DePoto said in the early offseason that that was
and
going
they
to be
were,
our top
yeah.
priority. And it just got reported a couple days ago the Mariners have not even met with him.
Maybe they're waiting to be the last team. I don't know.
That is just
I will say, getting
absurd
Sasaki
mismanagement.
would clear up a lot as far as
Oh, yeah.
being able to then trade Castillo and not worried about, sliding Hancock, or you just rock with a 6-man rotation, trade an arm at the deadline. That's another option. Um, yeah, no, Levi, this has been a failure in all regards. It really has. And it makes you just think, what's the future to this team? Because you mentioned it, right? Like, there are players that are going to be gone in a few years when all of these prospects are going to start to fill up your gaps. By the way, even shortstop is not, I'm not happy about JP Crawford at short. And right now he's one of the
Unfortunately,
guys
not the
that
last.
you can't even be worried about shortstop despite JP Crawford having statistically a bad year last year. You can't even be worried about shortstop because of how many other holes there are in the infield. I mean, we're literally rolling out a AAA lineup. And the problem is, you can say, well, you know, we have to hold on to these prospects. They're going to be X, Y, and Z.
Mm.
Well, shoot, at this point, even if they are X, Y, and Z,
Yeah,
at some point, you have to realize maybe you give up a little bit too much
yeah,
right now. Maybe you do. Maybe you give up a little bit more value to get something right now. And you've been the team to get a little bit more value, so you kind of pawn it off. Oh, next year's our year. We'll grab a prospect here. We'll trade a Kendall Graveman there. We'll trade a Paul Sewell here. We'll kind of skate by. This isn't our year. Well, when
right.
is it our year?
What
When
is
is it
it?
our
Yeah.
year? At some point, we got to be the team to trade for Kendall Graveman and give up a little too much. To trade for Paul Sewell and give up a little too much. Realize that these guys maybe won't contribute in a couple years for us, but that's okay because we're trying to win now. And it doesn't matter that Harry Ford could play for the Mariners in 2 years, but another guy that we trade for, maybe he won't play in 2 years. You know what matters, Levi? That he would play for us this year.
Mm.
So at this point, I don't know if you can, you can't rely on what the Mariners have shown in the past because it's not going to work.
And the unfortunate reality, Drew, is I think I can tell where this is going to have to head. And it's going to be 2025. If it's true that we don't have the money to spend, we're not going to spend it. We have to ride it out in 2025 with Haniger and Garver eating up massive portion of the contract, which means, Drew, 2026, that's probably 2026 or bust. And maybe that means, we're gonna call up all the prospects this year, see how Harry Ford and Cole Young do. But in 2026,
Harry Ford is not a guy that's going to change 2026. I mean, he's not.
well, he could. But
No, he's not.
2026 is your last season with Crawford and Randy Rosarena. When you lose those two guys, that's two of your key pieces of the lineup gone. And so the problem is you have 2 more years with those two players at the top of your order. And this year, 2025, unfortunately, right now, looks like you're going to take a step back, which means you have to go all in on 2026. And I hate that we're at the point where we're going to probably have to go all in for that 2 year stretch, 26 and 27. And if you don't win the World Series in those 2 years, you might not win the World Series in a very long time because
With
then
Julio. Yeah.
after 27, you're losing Gilbert, you're losing Cal, and I know I keep saying this. Yeah, we could extend them. I don't think they will because the
No,
Mariners
they
have
won't.
not proven that they want to extend players.
Well, not just that. The players won't want to sign back if the Mariners haven't made significant efforts to get better.
And if
Why?
you are sitting at home thinking, oh, we're gonna extend Kirby and Gilbert, and Wu and Miller, I'll tell you what, probably you would get two of those. You were lucky to get two of those four on an extension. Probably only one. The way
Yeah,
we work with our payroll,
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like at this point, the only fix is to get new ownership. I don't really know what to say. I mean,
Macklemore should buy the Mariners. I think that's the only solution.
I don't even think Macklemore is rich enough, Levi, but I would love that.
Maybe Russell Wilson.
Uh,
Russell Wilson retires from the NFL.
Maybe Russell Wilson
Maybe
and
low key should
Macklemore.
we should sign Russ to play second base. It couldn't be the worst idea.
Yeah, no,
It would
true.
put fans in seats.
How about this? We get Russell Wilson to play second. We also get Russell Wilson to help buy the franchise.
Yeah, yeah. He could
Throw
be
in
a
throw
player
in
slash owner.
Macklemore, throw in Bill Gates. We'll buy a little bit. It'll be just a little pocket change for Gates. We'll kind of get all these Seattle
Ichiro,
figures.
Griffey.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Ichiro will play right field when instead of Mitch Haniger, I'd rather Ichiro to play right. I
Oh
would.
man. Yeah.
I don't know. It's disappointing. That's all I got. I mean, this
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I mean, look, if it feels like we're just ranting, it kind of is, but it's just that's where we're at. So
Well, I'm
guys,
sure. I'm sure most people that are Mariners fans that actually know what's happening with this organization is feeling the same way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the accounts I follow on Twitter who are very pro Dipoto and pro Mariners,
Yeah.
pro ownership, they have really turned sour, and you're seeing, a lot of parody, a lot of comedy, and it's almost like we're just laughing through it together because that's where we're at right now. But I think that wraps this video up, guys. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. Let us know. Do you have any idea how can we save this? How can we somehow save this season? Is there a move? Is there a couple of underrated
The
value
fact we're saying
moves?
save the season and we're in January is tough reality for sure.
Oh man. Or are we just totally dumb and you know what? Victor Robles and Ryan Bliss are gonna lead the Mariners to the World Series. I don't know. Let us know down in the comments, but that's gonna wrap this one up for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, and as always, Levi.
Like, comment, subscribe, and go Mariners.